Just wanted to give a quick trigger warning at the beginning of this video. Some of the content in this video includes miscarriage and child loss. Welcome back to Analogue, a hate story. In the last episode we dealt with the reactor melting down, and then we finally were able to send her some of Mute's questions. So what we're going to do is take a look at the new things she just gave us before we send the final question of why did you murder everyone? Dear Sunhee, I wish I had more of a chance to talk before I left. I'm sorry it was so sudden, not my choice, please believe me. It's really weird living in someone else's house. Even just like the place itself, you know? The walls of the house are way smaller. There aren't even separate women's quarters. It's pretty much just a paper divider separating us from the men most of the time. You can see and hear everything. It's so very weird. Also, there's a lot more to do around the house. If you thought Mom was strict, wow, Mother-in-law makes her seem positively gentle in comparison. I know, I'll just have to get used to it, but she kind of scares me. Plus, we don't have any servants here at all, so I have to handle pretty much all the chores. Sorry, I have hiccups. I'll try to write to you regularly, though, so long as I can find the time. Mother-in-law keeps me pretty busy during the day with housework, and my husband keeps me pretty busy during the night with other work. It's pretty much chores all day, every day. But I'll try and sneak in another letter soon, alright? With love from your older sister. I wish you could have found the time sooner, but if you say you're busy, fine, I believe you. Things aren't very interesting at home. Mom's been really busy lately. I think she's in a big hurry to get me married, and I wish she wasn't. How come you didn't have to do interviews until you were 14? Lucky. One of them seems nice, though. I think the man's name was O. I talked to his mother about you for a bit. I don't remember what brought it up, but I told her about the dolls you left me. The second interview we did, she brought me one of hers from when she was my age and said I could keep it. Interviews suck, but I think I'd be fine with marrying her son. I mean, if I really have to, she sounds better than your stupid mother-in-law. Thanks for being able to come to my wedding, even if it was just for a day. Don't worry about what Mom said about you not having kids yet. You shouldn't take that personally. I was really happy to see you again since I wasn't sure if I ever would. I love you, big sister. I'm sorry for bothering you with this so soon after we spoke, but I really need you to answer something for me. I don't have anyone else to ask, and I'm really worried about something. It's really embarrassing, but I have to know. The night I moved in, my husband and I slept together. I'm not ignorant about how that's supposed to work. I know why. Afterward, my husband said everything was fine and that I shouldn't worry, but it really hurt a lot. I was crying the whole time, and he injured me so much there was blood everywhere. I know I'm not supposed to question him, but that's not normal, right? Should I insist on seeing a doctor? He seems nice beside that, so I don't understand. What should I do? That's fucked up. It's fucked up. So far sounds good. Things fell apart between them with time, though. Here, see for yourself. No, you don't need to see a doctor. I'm sorry to be the bringer of bad news, little sister, but I'm afraid your husband's right. That really is normal. Don't worry about freaking out either. You're a lot younger than I was when I got married, so it's probably even worse for you. I'm so sorry. It gets a little easier after the first time. It's still uncomfortable, though. You just have to endure that. That never changes. I'm sorry. Don't worry about the crying either. Men actually find that attractive, so just keep doing it and you'll probably make him happy. If you're lucky, though, you'll get pregnant quickly and won't have to worry about any of that for months. That aside, though, how have you been? How's your new family? I haven't heard much about them. I kept trying to ask Mom to tell me about your husband, but all I got was a lecture about how I was nearly 3 years old when she had been married for as long as I had. As if I'm not trying. So please do tell me more about him and his family, please. I'd love to know. We're gonna take a minute here, guys. If your partner doesn't know what the hell they're doing and shit hurts, you tell them that shit hurts and they need to figure out what the hell they're doing. Because no, it should not hurt, and y'all should both be making each other feel good. It's not on one, it's not on the other. It's on both of you, or the multitudes of you, to have an enjoyable, consensual time. Alright, PSA, the more you know. I said in my last letter that I was pregnant, and thanks for the congratulations. But I hope you didn't rush to tell Mom. You'll have to send her the bad news. It was a false alarm, I'm afraid. I bled this month. I hope you're doing better, little sister. Your child is due any day, right? I wish I could have written you sooner, but I'm afraid I haven't had the time. What with having a real pregnancy and all to worry about. Woo! Bitch! Bitch! A real pregnancy to worry about. We're not gonna. My mother-in-law insisted that I take time to write to my family, though, so I just finished a letter to Mom first. Sorry about your false alarm. I did tell Mom, and she really wasn't very happy to hear. I'm sure you're not really surprised by that, though. The good news, I gave birth 2 weeks ago. Her name is Ji-in, and she's the cutest little child you'll ever see. She reminds me a lot of our little brother, although she has her father's eyes, really. I really wish you could meet her. I just know you'd think she's absolutely adorable. So I'm a mother now. I still can't think of myself that way. It's so weird. Right now she's just so small. She can't even lift her head, but every time I look in her eyes, I wonder how I'm going to be able to raise her. Mother-in-law says I shouldn't worry. It'll come naturally, and she'll be there to help. I guess that's true. I definitely know what I'd do without her. At the very least, I'm sure I wouldn't ever get any sleep. It's just scary, you know? Wasn't it just yesterday we were playing together in our father's house? Now it's been nearly 16 years since I was born. I'm a wife and a mother. How did we get so old? 16 is not old, child. At all. I mean, it could be worse. I know that's a good age for both of those things, and that it's really disappointing if you're older and haven't managed that. I have it good. It's just odd to think about. But I'm not complaining, and oh, when you're a mother, you'll understand why, big sister. I just love her so much. She means everything to me. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. I think Ji-in is crying to be fed now, and mother-in-law can't help with that, so I'll leave it there. Take care, sister. Girl? I'm not a fan of your attitude. Maybe you could use a little more caution in what you send to Mom, because it's not like you don't know how annoyed she can get, especially at me. There's a reason you're the only one she still actually talks to. I'm trying, you know, but I can only do so much. Congratulations on your daughter. I'm really excited to hear about that. It's a shame that I can't see her. She sounds wonderful. I don't really have much else to say. I just wanted to acknowledge your letter. Things haven't been worth talking about. My mother-in-law is still a crazy tyrant, and my husband and I are still trying to have a son. Nothing new, nothing worth mentioning. I'm glad things are going much better for you. Wow. Okay, so this is from 3:18, and then this next letter is from 3:22. How long has it been since we last wrote each other? It feels like it's been forever. I wish you wouldn't be such a stranger. I have a 2-year-old son now. His name is Tai-hyun. He takes after his father in a lot of ways. He just started to learn to talk now, much earlier than Ji-in did, no surprise, but Ji-in's a real sweetheart. She's what reminded me of you. The two of them had fought, so I was scolding her. I told her that I was disappointed, that I expected better from her as an older sister. I gave her the whole filial responsibility speech, you know, the one that Mom always used to give. It's funny, I hated that so much as a kid. I promised myself I'd never guilt my own children that way. Now I just think to myself, well, it worked, didn't it? Anyway, she asked me what it meant to be an older sister. I had trouble with that one. Finally I said, it means you should be a good role model. Teach your little brother what it means to be responsible by example. Show him. That was a good enough answer for her, but I thought about it, and it's not a good enough answer for me. Not at all. It's you that I've been thinking of, and you know, I turned out okay. I wish I could take back what I said and tell Ji-in what I'm going to tell you. You don't have to be perfect. You're not a good role model, but that's fine. I love you anyway, big sister, and I always will. Even if everyone is disappointed in you, even if you're not really family anymore, as far as I'm concerned, you're still my big sister. You don't have to be perfect. I love you, period. Please write back, sister, even if you don't have good news to report. I just want to hear how you are. Okay. Do you want to read it? It's really intense. Yes. Don't say I didn't warn you, though. Alright. You know what? Fine, I'll tell you the truth. The false alarm, it wasn't a false alarm. I didn't lie about the bleeding, that was true. But I really was pregnant at the time, more than I let on in my letter. As in, morning sickness, giant belly, you could see it. I was really pregnant and bleeding. My husband brought in the doctor immediately, who asked me all sorts of questions about everything. I was fine, perfect health, no injuries, I told him. So he pulled out his instruments and started listening for my son's heartbeat, and listened and listened and listened. It felt like forever that he kept trying, and I couldn't understand why he couldn't find something I just knew had to be there. The obvious never occurred to me. He had to explain it. I'm sorry, the doctor said. There's no heartbeat. The fetus is dead. He couldn't do anything about it. It took a week for the actual miscarriage to happen, and it was the worst week of my life. It was hellish. You've had two children. I'm sure you know that wonderful feeling you get when you realize you're with child. That you know that you're going to have a baby and can feel him inside you and imagine what he's going to look like and what he'll grow up to be, and that right now he's depending on you more than ever, that he ever will, to keep him safe. You know the feeling. I'm sure just the day before I had been so happy. I was finally going to have a child. And I found out I could still feel him. Dead, but still inside me, sloshing around. The day before I thought I was filled with beautiful life, but I was actually filled with death. I would have no son. What I was carrying was just a corpse weighing me down. I thought I'd feel better once I expelled it, but then I saw it, this awful bloody mess that should have been a son. It was awful. After I saw it, my husband had to force me to wash myself because all I wanted to do was crawl in bed and die. I didn't get out of bed for a whole month after that, save for a brief hour so I could write to you and tell you that I wasn't pregnant. Eventually I recovered. I realized it wasn't my fault. Eventually we started trying again. After all, what you, Mom, and Mother-in-law have all been implying is right. I'd be a lousy wife if I, after 8 years of marriage, still hadn't had a child. So we tried, and I eventually did get pregnant, and then it happened again. That was half a year ago. You're right, I'm not perfect. I'm as broken as it gets. The one most important thing in the world for a woman to do, and I can't. You've been pregnant twice, and now you have 2 wonderful children that you love. I've been pregnant twice, and all that's happened is I've killed them both. I don't know what's wrong with me, and I don't know why. The doctors say I didn't do anything wrong, but clearly I can't bring life into this world. The only thing I can bring is death, little sister. Today I overheard my husband talking to my mother-in-law about considering taking on a second wife to actually give him a child. He sounded really disappointed in me. I don't know what to do. Kill myself, maybe, since killing seems to be all I can do. It'd be better for everyone. It'd be easier on my husband, and you wouldn't have to worry about me being a disappointment, at least. It's the only thing I can think of. What else could I possibly do? Well, that's, I don't have a lot of words for what that was. I didn't know either existed when I was alive. Their mother had mentioned she'd had daughters before in a sort of abstract way, but she never told me so much as their names, let alone anything. Anyway, none of that was my original point. My point was, now do you see what I mean? When Mew talks about a happy marriage, that's what she was talking about. It's not as if I'm the only woman that has a horrible marriage. It wasn't my fault. That's what happens. That's normal. Okay. That got a little deep, a little fast. Oh, are you gonna tell me the same thing again? I didn't want to read the same thing again. Thanks. God. That was, hard to deal with. I don't know which one of these have been sent to who at this point. Given we're talking about a real person's life, this is a bit uncomfortable. What I mean is, she got jaded really quickly. Her family situation sounds like a really awkward arrangement. I'll show you what I mean. Let me know if you're not sympathetic to her after reading these. Can we send all of these? I don't know how I feel about him. He doesn't sound like anyone thought he was a very good person. Looks like he never married or anything. I guess he was friends with Mute. That doesn't surprise me. He just seems weird. Like, it sounds like Sojin was kind of put off by him, and I don't blame her. I don't know. I have no idea how to judge him. See for yourself, I guess. I've added a few more things about him. Alright. My husband was out of the house, as he usually is during the day, so our servant fetched me instead to tell me that someone was at the door. I was in the middle of a conversation with Mute, but had no idea how I was expected to respond to that. What do? I asked her. She just responded in that usual shocking, crass manner of hers. You could try answering the door, maybe. Just a thought, of course. So I excused her and went to do that, but with a degree of nervousness. I had never done this before. At the door was my youngest brother-in-law, Sang Jun. I had only met a few times before, although my husband mentioned him often enough, usually in the same breath as calling him an irresponsible drunk. Seeing him did nothing short of compound my anxieties. Hello, sir, I stammered. Sojin, he responds with unbelievable volume. It's great to see you again. Hope you don't mind me dropping by unannounced. I just figured since I haven't seen my new niece yet, and it's been forever since I've been to the old house, I thought I'd stop by to say hello to your daughter. I don't know, I'm sorry, my husband isn't home right now. Maybe you should come back later, I said, shifting uncomfortably. Oh, please, be a good girl. Let me come see her. I'm not really here for your husband. This was awkward. I didn't exactly want to turn away my brother-in-law, especially if he just wanted to see baby Minhee, but this was hardly proper. It really wouldn't be my place. Sorry, you'll have to wait until my husband gets back. I trailed off. He rolled his eyes and smiled at me. Really? Come now, you're a smarter woman than that, he said, and puts his hands on my shoulders. This now had moved on to incredibly uncomfortable. You really value his authority that much? He's my husband, I responded. What else could I say? He replied, Wow, no wonder he walks all over you. If that's how you treat him, you've got a lot to learn about dealing with men, dear Sojin. Especially my brother. But come now, this is a bad conversation for a doorway. Can I see my niece? I hear she's rather adorable. I took a deep breath. I'm sorry, I said, trying to be as bold as I could. I'm going to have to go now. Sorry. I started closing the door on him. All right, I understand. I'll talk to him myself later. Don't worry. I won't mention this visit. Do say hello to her mother for me, though. He said and left. My heart nearly skipped a beat when he said those words. I stood there in the doorway for a good while, stunned. Even now, I still have much to think about. Not simply his knowledge of our child's true mother, a matter of great secrecy, but also what he said about my husband. Perhaps his words were true. High Magistrate, this man is just a piece of work. He could not keep his pants on. Neglecting his wife so he could get a courtesan pregnant. What kind of man does that? Please tell me you feel the same. He's awful. The idea of a woman living only for her man is just awful. But there's one way to make things worse, for the man to just ignore her entirely. Can you imagine living like that, just being kept away in the women's quarters with nobody to care about you? I don't think our marriage was worse than mine, but at least I had something. And I didn't have to worry about the scandals about to blow up in the family's face. There's one thing that's good about being the Emperor's consort, I guess. So all he ever paid attention to was women who weren't his wife, and all of his assorted business. Here, I'll show you what all that is. Looking at this, it feels like he spent more time with his brothers than his wife. As horrible as this is, I don't think anybody was surprised when brother-in-law Sang Jun was found dead. Nobody asked how, nor has anyone so much as mentioned the word drinking in my present sense. Even the ordinarily extremely candid Mute has been entirely somber. Mother-in-law, I understand why she's taking it so hard, and I've been working hard to stay well out of her way while the funeral preparations are being settled, but Mute, I had no idea they were so close. Yet in our last conversation, I could have sworn she was on the verge of tears. I had never seen such a reaction from her in all my time here. As for myself, I have an awful confession I can make to no one. I have put on a somber face, acting as though I'm sad as the rest, since that is, of course, what is expected. But it pains me to admit that I'm not. It's not as though I don't find it tragic. I feel bad for thinking this, but I didn't know him at all. How could I possibly bring myself to feel upset as I'm expected to be? Seen pretty much everything that matters. Most of this is new to me too. When I was alive, I didn't know they existed. What do you think of them then? Sad. My family considered them political enemies, and the men were always so insistent on our family taking their place to the point where, you know. Just seems to me, though, that the men destroyed themselves and dragged women like poor Sojin with them. And I don't understand how Mute plays in at all. That's the weird thing to me. Still, though, what an awful marriage Sojin had. I feel so bad for her to be thrown away and forgotten like that. You know, though, in a sort of perverse way, I feel a little bit relieved to read another story like hers. Just so I know it's not just me. A reminder that it's not just because I was from another time. It would have sucked even if I was born in that period. No, it doesn't sound bad. I won't waste your time with any more babbling. Shall we get back to what we were talking about before? We're gonna save. And I think I'm gonna end that episode here, because I'm not sure how long we've been looking at things, but there is so much, and I'm just still not sure how everything is tying together or what the hell is going on. But we'll figure it out, I promise, and I'll see you guys in the next video.